You're listening to The Critical Thought, where we challenge our listeners to use critical thinking when examining the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Hi, this is Daniel.
And this is Lady C.
And this is JT.
And the purpose of this video is to answer the question that's so often asked, why do we make these videos? Okay, team, well, recently I showed some of our videos to my aunt, Carolyn, and she emailed me back and said, why are you bashing the Jehovah's Witnesses? And I thought, number one, what videos are you watching? Because I think we do it with love and humor and honesty. But you get that question, why are, we'll go ladies first. Why are you shooting these videos?
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you. When we first left the Watchtower 20 years ago, we came across information on the internet that helped us to make our decision to leave when we woke up and saw things weren't right.
All right, let me add. Okay, so what I'm hearing, the first reason you and JT, as well as myself, we do it to help people. We do it because we love people and we love truth. That's why we do it, number one. What else in terms of why are we shooting these videos? Okay,
so people that have gone through experiences, and mainly, you know, there's the biggest one was Ray Fran's Crisis of Conscience. If he didn't write that book, I don't know how many people would still be out there thinking this is the truth.
Gotcha.
And not really understanding we can get on with our lives. What they're preaching is not, you know, from God and all that kind of stuff. So you appreciate the wisdom from individuals that have been in the back room making these rules that we live by.
I'm hearing the first reason is to help people. And the second reason is because there's an information gap oftentimes out there. For us, before there was really the internet, Ray France helped to close that gap. Our goal is to help these videos close the gap.
Yes.
In terms of looking behind the curtain. JT, let me ask you in terms of implications. Aunt Carolyn would often say, well, why? They're not bothering you. The witnesses aren't bothering you. Why are you bashing? Why are you hating on the Jehovah's Witnesses? Don't you have something else you could be doing with your time? And I often think folks just don't understand the implications of being a witness, leaving the organization. Can you talk to the group, to the viewers about the impacts of leaving the organization on families? Maybe share a story or two, and then we'll have Lady C do the same.
Yeah. Most people are very familiar with people who may belong to a religious denomination, and they decide, you know, Uncle Joe decided he was going to leave the Methodist church and go down to and become a part of the Baptist church. And for most people, that is their basic understanding of people leaving one denomination going to another. As far as family, friends, relatives, and so forth, nothing really changes. But what people don't realize is that when a Jehovah's Witness does that, their entire life changes. Because basically what the first thing that happens is you will lose all of your friends. People you've known for 10, 20, 30 years. They will simply have nothing to do with you. If you have family who are Jehovah's Witnesses, the Watchtower has made sort of a little exception for that. They say, basically, you try to have as little as possible. If it's not really business related in the family, then have nothing to do with it. And that is the impact that this religion has on people.
So JT, Lady C, I want you to share with our viewers some real stories. So I think most of the viewers, active witnesses, ex-witnesses, and non-witnesses have heard about these impacts, but it seems conceptual, theoretical. Bring it down to the street level. Give us a couple of stories that you know about in terms of impacts and implications, consequences that our viewers can then kind of go, I now better understand at a gut level why they're shooting these videos.
Yeah. I think about my family. I've shared this experience before. I have a cousin. She was disfellowshipped when she was 14 years old. She got pregnant. And her father, who was appointed at that time, he was given basically an option. If you want to keep your appointment, put your child on the street. If you,
Appointment like promotion appointment? Like, you know,
well, he
move up to lieutenant kind of appointment? What do you mean?
Basically. At the time, he was a ministerial servant. He was trying to make elder.
Okay.
So this was his first test. So that was his option. Either get your daughter out of the house because the minister served for a pregnant daughter, that we can't have that, or either we'll keep you in your position. And sad to say, he put my cousin out on the street. Now, what's interesting about this is my cousin is now in her 50s.
And she was 14 at the time?
She was 14 at the time.
In New York City?
In New York City. And as a result, you know, her life, you can just imagine all the challenges that she faced in her personal life. And till this very day, when I talk to her, it hurts because basically they have nothing to do with her. Even now, if it's not something absolutely related to family, they have almost practically nothing to do with her. So she has never really had a relationship with her parents from 14 till now. Her children, who are the grandchildren, they have had practically no relationship with their grandparents. And I've often told her, you know, you need to understand, you know, your uncle and aunt, they are in a group that dictates to them how they can conduct themselves. And as you know, just recently, the Watchtower literally, and I was really shocked to see the society really do this, because witnesses are uncomfortable about talking about this in general. I was really surprised that the Watchtower literally put out a teaching video, and it was shown at all the conventions as to how you are to treat your child if they do not want to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And so it was an example of the young girl who was out there on the street basically and tried to call home. Parents wouldn't even pick up the phone. They would look at the phone, see her number, ain't answering that
This was
phone.
in the video?
This was in the
video. The how-to video?
How-to video. And so for me personally, people ask, well, why are you bashing Jehovah? Well, you need to understand what your cousin is involved in. You need to understand what your co-worker is involved in.
You said something to me off camera about how the witnesses would teach about gaps, information gaps in other religions back in the day and even now, but they didn't call it bashing. Can you talk to the folks about that?
It's really interesting how that basically for 140 years, Jehovah's Witnesses have been going to people's homes pointing out mistakes, errors, misunderstanding in other people's teachings. And they never, ever refer to it as bashing. In fact, the Watchtower says that if you point out errors or mistakes or misunderstanding in other denominations' teachings, that's not persecution. You're trying to help them. And so you see this double standard. And that was one of the biggest challenges as a witness. You literally had a standard that you applied to everybody else's denomination, but you couldn't apply it to yourself.
Yeah.
Lady C, talk to us. Real stories that you know about in terms of impact.
Yeah. Well, since we've been with the Critical Thinkers and we've been running this our channel on YouTube, I've talked to, I want to say, hundreds of people that's told me their stories. Yeah. I've heard about people where they got disfellowshipped and they were homeless on the street. Parents were millionaires, wouldn't help them out. People who had planned their funeral because they said that they couldn't live anymore because of the isolation. Coming across our videos saved their lives. It was like our platform on YouTube is really a great place for people to come because they see that they're not alone in this struggle. And they see that, hey, look, there's other people just like me. And then like in a video that JT and I just did, JT is inviting people to, you know, reach out to other ExJWs in the community and they will be there for you.
Let me ask you this, just from a lady's perspective, from a woman's perspective, as it relates to the impacts, implications, families or single lady or married ladies. Can you talk to our viewers just about a woman's perspective on this whole thing? Either, I don't know, you may know of a couple of specific stories about ladies, or you're a lady yourself, in terms of, I don't know, you know, when you're thinking about departing, the implications for a woman, are they the same for a guy, or maybe they're different?
Well, there's, when you look at the Watchtower, you'll notice that there's more women than men in the organization, and they always talk about we're like a large army. And a lot of women, we just kind of go along with the flow with the religion, and we a lot of times don't think that we're smart enough to be able to make decisions to leave. So a lot of times, you know, they're just hanging on because, you know, some women in the congregation, they really need that support group or the support from the people in the congregation because, you know, a lot of times there may be a brother or sister in the congregation that's aiding them. Not just, they may not be aiding them financially, but they're helping them mentally, emotionally, and stuff like that. So for them to tell them to leave the organization, it may be a little bit harder, but when they leave, if they see our videos and they start to realize that, hey, look, there's some value here. Things that I have been suffering with and so forth, you're helping me. I know a situation with a young lady that I used to study with, and she was being evicted. And she basically was being set out on the street. And she was going to the brothers and stuff, and she was like, well, who can help me out? And they just kept telling her, are you going to the meetings? Are you studying your lesson? Are you praying? And all that. And she said, well, I'm doing all that. She said, but I need help right now because my furniture is on the street. And her ex-boyfriend, who's now her husband, came to her rescue, got a U-Haul, went and moved her in with him and everything. And she got disfellowshipped because of that. So here she was on the street, nobody helping her out at the congregation level, and then somebody comes along who's not even a Jehovah's Witness and is helping her get her life back together.
So in closing, why do we shoot these videos? At least from my standpoint, and I'm hearing my team say this, but I would give it 3 L's. For the love, helping people. For the learn, closing the information gap. And for me, that 3rd L is the Lord. Go make disciples, and that requires that we teach defense, not just offense. And so these videos teach you how to protect your heart and your family and give you the information we think that you need. Lady C, JT, you want to close out with any final comments about why you do what you do?
I think probably the biggest reason is that someone took the time to help me to understand what I was involved in. I believe it's very important that every person understand the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so at that point, you can then decide what you want to do. But an educated consumer, as they say, is the best consumer.
JT says, hey, we're kind of like Consumer Reports. Check us out, check out the videos, and make an educated decision. Lady C, you bring it on home.
Yeah, and I feel like because we have the knowledge and, the experience in living the life of a Jehovah's Witness, we know what requires of people when they leave and the challenges that they face, that since we have the ability to do this, why not?
This is Daniel.
This is Lady C.
This is JT.
God bless. Take care. We'll see you on the next video.
Well, you know what, JT? It's very interesting what Daniel said about his Aunt Carolyn, because I've received similar feedback from family members as well. But do you really think that we're bashing people?
That's an excellent question. By making videos and discussing the topics that we're discussing, are we bashing Jehovah's Witnesses? Are we persecuting Jehovah's Witnesses, as it were? And we've discussed this on many occasions. And I think that the answer really boils down to 2 things. 1, who is asking the question? And 2, do you actually know what the official position of Jehovah's Witnesses are in this matter? And I think looking at those 2 aspects will help a person to decide, do I consider these videos as bashing or persecuting Jehovah's Witnesses or not? For example, who would ask that type of question? Well, if a Jehovah's Witness were to ask that question, well, are these guys bashing us? Are these guys persecuting us? Well, for many, the answer will be yes. And it's understandable. As Jehovah's Witnesses, we were taught, and everyone who's watching this video who's ever been a Jehovah's Witness knows this. We were basically taught, if someone says something negative about something that's published by the Watchtower, we're to view it as an attack. It's just that simple. You can't dress it up. You can't clean it up. That's just the bottom line. And so we would view anybody, Jehovah's Witness, former Jehovah's Witness, worldly person, quote unquote, whatever. If you are saying something that is opposite of what the Watchtower has said, then we would view it in a negative light. That's just the way we were raised. That's just part of the culture. If you perhaps are a Jehovah's Witness supporter, you may have relatives who are Jehovah's Witnesses. And you're like, I got cousins who are witnesses. I got uncles. They're good people. They're good people, honest people. So from that perspective, they would view it as persecuting Jehovah's Witnesses, bashing Jehovah's Witnesses. Once again, totally understandable. The reason why was what we had discussed earlier about the what? The image that Jehovah's Witnesses have painted.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Because I remember I was talking to this guy that I always see on the street. And we happened to be talking about Jehovah's Witnesses. And he goes, not those people. He goes, those people are so nice. They used to come to my house and give Bible study and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But you know what I said? I said, see, the Jehovah's Witnesses have an image. And the way they come across is they're well-mannered, they're well-dressed, they come to your door. I said, that's not by chance, that's by design. And they are doing this because it makes it harder for people to talk about them and to make the statement and the claims that we're making based on our own personal experiences. Right.
When you think about the Watchtower has very, very carefully crafted a persona, an image. And it's the perfect Jehovah's Witness family. Husband, wife, 2 little kids, 2 little girls going from house to house. That is the perfect image that the society creates. The problem is, and I tell people, you know, Big Mama might be a good Jehovah's Witness, but that has nothing to do with the men who write articles that make decisions for Big Mama as to whether or not she can take certain medical services and ends up dying for not taking it, only to have 3 or 4 months later it to be reversed. So whenever we talk to people, we try very hard to make a clear distinction between the typical person that you will meet on the street who's a Jehovah's Witness. Good person, honest-hearted, want to do what's right, want to serve God, believe in the Bible, Jesus, Moses, the whole 9 yards, right? But that has absolutely nothing to do with what the Watchtower writers publish in their magazines.
Right.
The leadership of Jehovah's Witnesses is not to be confused with your cousin, because they're not the same. It's interesting because the organization, and that's why I mentioned earlier, depends on who asks the question.
True.
So if a person whose life has been impacted by the teachings of Jehovah's Witnesses, their family life, their, you know, all their emotional state, all these things have been asked by a person affected that way, then when they see a video that's discussing issues about Jehovah's Witnesses, they won't view it as bashing. They won't view it as persecution. In fact, here at Critical Thinkers, our view is very simple. We believe exactly what the Watchtower teaches. You see, most people don't know what the Watchtower teaches on this subject matter. Well, we're going to just share 2 little quick quotes to show you what the official teaching of Jehovah's Witnesses happens to be. The Watchtower has pointed out that showing people religious error, there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, Jehovah's Witnesses spend over 1 billion hours a year going to people's homes, and they're going to show people religious error. Now, not one Jehovah's Witness would ever be on a Bible study, conducting a Bible study, point out something in a person's religion or their denomination that may be in error in religious teaching and call it bashing. They would never call it persecution. So here at Critical Thinkers, we believe that since the Watchtower has pointed out that there's nothing wrong with pointing out religious error, we just want to hold them by the same standard they hold everybody else to. Why should they be able to point out religious error and then say, we're not persecuting you, we're not bashing you, we're merely pointing out religious error? Why is it that we have a double standard? And this is one of the biggest challenges, and we were talking about this before, you know, using the Bible study as basically like a benchmark. When you think about all the things that we would tell a Bible study, if they were to tell us, we would reject it right out. You know, we sit in people's homes on their sofa. You know, your church ain't teaching this. Let me show you right here. And then we expect them to accept it. Yet if they were to say, well, let me show you something I found about your religion. Oh, no, we can't do that.
I know, because remember when we first moved to Alexandria, I remember this one sister used to go to a local one. It was a big Baptist church in Alexandria, and it was a well-known, prestigious church.
Prestigious, yeah.
And I remember her, and she had been, you know, recently she was newly baptized right before we got there. And she talked about her previous pastor like a dog. But it was like, it was okay for them to do that.
Oh, absolutely. That's okay.
You know?
That's cool.
But now we're out here talking about our personal experience, and now we're bashing, you know?
So all we're saying is, let's hold everybody to the same standard. If there is religious error, then there should be nothing wrong with pointing it out. It's just that simple. And that's why I made the point about it. It depends on who's asking. And do you even know what the Watchtower's official position is? Because that's their official position. There's nothing wrong. The Watchtower said that, persons should not view it as persecution if somebody show you something that's wrong in what you believe. You shouldn't.
But you know what I feel like? I feel like because of the internet, there are so many issues that have been plaguing people for years that are rising above the surface.
Oh yeah.
And people can Google just about anything.
Yes, they can.
And get information.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you have been taught something from childhood, and it's been passed on to you, and then someone like us and the other hundreds of YouTube channels that are talking about this topic of Jehovah's Witnesses come out here to light. Now people want to start saying, you're lying, you're bashing, you're not being fair, because you have to be willing to think outside the box. And you have to be willing to do that research to look and see, why are they saying this? Why are we here talking about this?
Yeah, that's true. That's
you
true.
know,
Yeah,
because if you don't get up there and find out why we're talking about it, you're going to continue to believe those things that you were taught from your childhood, things that a lot of people on a lot of other different topics have come to learn that there's fallacies in some of the things that they have been learning from childhood.
Yeah.
You know?
And so when you look at the standard that as a witness we apply to other people, the question is, can we apply the same standard to our own faith? And to be honest with you, we all know that we really can. We can't challenge it like we would tell a person if we were studying with. If your pastor says something, don't just accept it because he said it. But yet at the Kingdom Hall, well, the society says, so we got to go with it. And so that's the basic culture that we grew up in. But in terms of being able to simply put information out, that's why we often say, we believe the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because as we've often said, we're consumers. We're all consumers of products, services, and ideas. And no consumer wants to be flim-flam, hoodwinked and bamboozled. Nobody wants that. So people want to know. And I'll be honest with you, I often wonder in 10, 15, 20 years down the road, unlike our parents and many of the parents that many of us grew up with, who didn't have the chance to know or hear or have these type of open discussions where you're really just looking at teachings and turning it upside down, shaking and see what falls out. What is it going to be like for people? I mean, there are people who come onto these sites, good people, good Jehovah's Witnesses, and they defend the society, just to the death. Can you imagine what it's going to be like in 10, 15, 20 years down the road when they realize, oh my goodness, I could have got out earlier? I mean, the emotional, we look at what happens to people now who have never had the opportunity to come to know the things that's available to know right now, how it impacts their lives. I can't imagine what it's going to be like for a person who knew all I had to do was just open the door and I could have walked out.
Right.
And instead they stayed there. It reminds us of, it used to be, he passed a few years ago. His name was Zig Ziglar. He was a motivational speaker. And he always used to tell the story about how do you train fleas. And he would talk about how, you put fleas into a jar and you put a top on it. And the fleas will jump and they'll jump and they'll jump and they'll hit the top. And after a while, they'll stop jumping so they won't hit the top. And how you can literally take the top off and the fleas won't jump out. And it's because they don't know that they're right there at freedom and don't even realize it. And that's the way it is for Jehovah's Witnesses. And that's what it's been like, the experiences that we've had.
Well, here's what I feel, too. And when you think about the Jehovah's Witnesses that are feeling like we're bashing, I found that a lot of people that don't go to the Kingdom Hall, they have no affiliation with the witnesses at all. But they're sitting on the fence.
Yes.
And we're pulling the rug from off and under them as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because they feel like, they don't want to have anything to do with going to the meetings and dedicating their life to the cause. But should things break out where they feel like Armageddon is coming, they feel like they have a place to run to.
Yeah. We
So,
saw that during 9/11. All the people who went running back to the Kingdom Hall, and then 6 months later, like, I ain't going back to meeting them on time. Yeah.
But when they come to our channel and see our videos and see the things that we're saying, we are actually pulling the rug from under them. And they're thinking, oh my God, where would I run to when it's time.
Yeah. And it's understandable. You know, like in the Peanuts cartoon, you know, Linus had his blanket. It was what protected him. And so the organization has presented itself as an ark. If you're not in the ark, you're toast. And so it becomes frightening for anybody to question Jehovah's Witnesses. And we see that even, like you said, with people who are not even really participating. But the thing of it is that now they have an opportunity to do the research. And I tell people, don't do your own homework. You know, don't rely on somebody else. Do your own homework. You know, take the time, go up and in fact, I've always told people, go to sites where there is no commentary. Nobody's going back and forth debating and discussing. Just go and do some serious reading. And just ask yourself some questions as you're reading this. You know, does this sound like something from God, or does it sound like some guy sitting around a conference room table that put this together? And so these are the type of things. So we don't consider it as bashing. We've agreed with the society. In fact, the society says that when you point out religious error, it's a public service. And if that's what the society says, I'm going with the society.
But not only that, but when you think about the number of lives we're saving and the number of people that's saying how much they appreciate what they're receiving. So the people that are saying that we're bashing, think about the people that are receiving comfort. Because it's just like a person that's never been abused. And they're saying, go back home to your abuser. Be quiet. Stop complaining. Stop being negative. Well, you can't be negative if negativity isn't happening. Well, just like I just recently saw a video with Mike and Kim, and they were talking about how there was a triple murder-suicide.
Yes.
And it was all related to the shunning and Jehovah's Witnesses. And then there was a situation with a young girl, and I want to play a clip from her of her video, you know, right after this one. But basically, this young lady is being shunned by her parents and has been kicked out of the house. And do you know why?
What happened?
Because she celebrated her 18th birthday.
Okay.
So when you think about this, for all the people that think we're bashing, listen to the clip. Take a listen to what she has to say.
Fast forward to my 18th birthday. Now, I decided to celebrate my birthday. So me and my friends, we went out to Price Chopper and bought these $4 cupcakes and this $1 pack of candles. And a friend of mine took a Snapchat of me and posted it onto her social media, and a Jehovah's Witness found it. Forwarding it to other witnesses, it then landed in the hands of my older brother, who then brought it before the elders and my parents. My father contacted me and he asked me if I celebrated my birthday, and I told him, yes, I did. And he counseled me, and he told me I had to go before the elders, and I told him I didn't want to because I didn't see where I committed a serious sin. He said, it's either you go before the committee and repent for your sins, or you move out of the house. I told him, I said, okay, I'm not meeting with the elders. I don't see how what I've done is so wrong, and I'm moving out of the house. I packed my things into my car and I left. And I drove to a park and I just cried.
For those of you who are listening, who have listened to this clip, I want you to tell me, if you are not one of Jehovah's Witnesses and you think that we're bashing people, have you ever heard of anyone being kicked out of their home because they refuse to repent for celebrating their own birthday? Real, I mean, see, you can't make this stuff up.
That's true.
But a lot of people don't know that Jehovah's Witnesses are not allowed to celebrate holidays and birthdays and the ramifications. But understand this. This young lady, her family were devout Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
And they followed everything to the letter.
Yeah.
And her father is the coordinator at the Kingdom Hall.
Yeah.
So he's the head elder, if you want to call it that.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
You know.
So, you know, ladies, see, they're all good points, and there's something to think about. So, once again, how do people view videos such as this? It depends. Depends on who's asking the question and whether or not you know what their official position of the Watchtower is, which is showing religious error is nothing more than a public service. This is JT.
And this is Lady C.
This program was sponsored by Critical Thinkers.